Hi, my name is Amy Brown, and this is my post-observation review. I observed Mrs. Thames' class, and just to go over what I observed today, she went over the homework, the supplies. She explained the objective to the students. She told them what they would do together, what she would do to show them how the examples were done, and what they would have to do alone, which was a quiz at the end. She had really good classroom management. At several points she said, "I don't teach to people who talk," and that got the kids to quiet down. She was really good at redirecting students that were off task. She was in the power zone most of the time, just walking around her classroom, making sure students that needed help had help. But she also made sure that students realized that their group members could help them. The way the classroom was set up, she had her objectives on the board. The groups were already set up prior to class. She had supplies out for the students, and they knew where to find their supplies ahead of time. She used various instructional strategies. She made sure they knew the vocabulary, what isotopes were. She also covered basic vocabulary, like respectively, when it was used in the questions. She utilized peer tutoring in the groups. She taught them shortcuts, like the DP method. She also modeled, and you could hear her say in the video, "If I'm writing, you're writing," so that they knew to write exactly what she wrote as she figured out the problems. She thought aloud as she was working the problems and had the kids interact with her thinking aloud so that they could start to think aloud themselves. She was very organized. She had visual representations all over the board. And then I also noticed that she used her technology. Several students had their Blackboard applications open on their laptops. There were some students that didn't have laptops, but she provided the instructions on the board with her own laptop, so they were able to follow along and still do the assignment. She differentiated the instruction. It was a tiered assignment, so the first question she actually did with them, and she was the one doing the problem. And then 2, 3, and 4, she required the students to work on it, but she would walk around the room to monitor them to make sure they understood it. She also went over it several times to make sure that they knew what they were doing, where problems would come up if they were entering their data wrong. I'm not sure how she arranged the grouping, but it seemed like there was strong individuals and weaker individuals in the groups themselves, because several students would ask questions and the same group members would answer those questions. Her student engagement was pretty high. There were students working on their calculators, scrolling through their Blackboard to find the next problem. She was redirecting and encouraging students that were off task. There was a girl that was absent the day before, and she made sure to go over and help her specifically since she didn't know what the isotopes were. What went well? The students seemed to understand all the work. They worked hard to complete the problems. The setup of the classroom was good. All the students knew what their spirals were and how this was going to go into it. Things that I might have changed were there were problems that were too easy for some of the students. A lot of the students finished really fast all the math problems. I also noticed that Mrs. Thames talks really fast, and I had a hard time understanding at first what she was talking about because she speaks so fast and I'm not familiar with all the science terms. So she might want to slow down her speaking to some of the students. I was surprised how eager they were to please her, though. So she has a great relationship with her students. She was encouraging them, telling them that they were the smartest, that they knew this way too fast. She also had a good relationship. There was a boy that was crying right before class, and she did not let the rest of the students know that he was crying, but took some time to make sure he was all right. He got up and went to the bathroom at one point, but she never drew attention to him and really handled the situation well. She was really good at redirecting, and as an administrator, I feel like in the future I should keep in mind that this is just a snapshot of her class. So I would need to go in there multiple times to make sure that that redirection is still occurring, and that maybe this was an off day for those kids that were off task, and they are typically the ones that are always on task. And I think she did a great job, and it was really interesting to observe from an administrator's perspective.